Okay, today we're going to learn how to make an I SPY printable. I'm going to show you a few that I've made. This one's one of my Christmas ones. I sell this on my Etsy shop and it does really well. Let's see, I've made one for Paris, just something fun for one of my daughters. This one was a tribal one that I love the graphics. So they're just super fun to make and kids love them. And so today we're going to learn how to make our own. So we're going to go into your PowerPoint. We're going to do our blank presentation and click on your slide, Control A to clear the screen. And then we're going to go up here to adjust our dimensions for our slide or for our paper. So you're going to go to the Design tab up here. If you see that things are a little different than some of my other videos, PowerPoint made their program ADA compliant, so things are a little different. Colors are different, so I've kind of had to relearn a little bit on here. So if I backtrack a little bit, that's why. So when you're in your Design tab, you're going to go over to your slide size. You're going to go down to Custom Slide Size. Again, I've mentioned in a past video that you can go straight to your letter paper, which we are going to be doing 8.5 by 11. But the dimensions don't always work really well for me for some reason. They just seem to shift oddly when I go to print them. So I have just gotten in the habit of entering it manually. So that would be 8.5 and then height would be 11. Portrait is is how I want this to look. So we are ready to go. We're ready to make our printable. So depending on what you are making this for or who you are making it for will depend on what kind of graphics you want to use. You can go to Etsy, which is where I get the majority of my graphics. Another program that I've just fallen in love with in the past month is Creative Fabrica, and that's something that I've been downloading way too many graphics from there. But we're going to stick with one of my Etsy graphics that is a fun one. I'm just going to pull it up here. Oops, sorry. Gotta do it properly. So we're going to go up to Insert. We're going to go to Pictures. And then I'm going to choose this device. Let's see here. It should already, up here it is, because I just had it. And we're going to select them all, and we're going to insert them. And this should pop up all the ones that are in there. And I'm just going to size them down a little bit so we have some more manageable sizes, because they're going to be kind of small. Okay, so these are my graphics that I have to work with. I like to organize them just a little bit just to kind of see what I have to work with. These are pretty much organized the way they're going to go. Okay, these are separate. All right, so I don't have any paper to that comes with these graphics. Some come with like a scrapbook paper, which make really great borders and that. So I don't have that right now for this particular graphic, and you might not either. So we're just going to kind of do it an old-fashioned way. This here, let me see here. I normally I'm going to start off with a shape. These are my quick tabs here. As I've said before, this is something that I have done as a custom ribbon right here. This is not probably going to be the same as what you would have, but if you would like to have some of the things you use often right here, that's super easy to create your own. You can just customize and just add some of the things that you want here. Another way to do that is, let's see, we're going to go to Insert, and I'm going to do Shapes. Now, Shapes is something I use every single time I make a printable, so this would be something that I would want on my quick tab. So you can right click on that particular thing, customize your ribbon. It would pull up. You're going to go here. Let's see. I'm sorry, you're going to go to your quick access toolbar, and that's what this is what I have here on my quick access, which is right here. And you can just add anything over here, and then you just save it, and that's how I've created this. So you can do that, but since you might not already have that up there, we're just going to go through and do it manually. So I'm going to start with the shape. I usually always use the rectangle. And I'm going to do this, and I'll explain why in just a minute. You know what, let's take it all the way to the corners. So I'm going to create basically my wallpaper for this particular thing. So how I'm going to do that, and this is a little bit into the process I use for printables when I don't have paper to use or I want to create my own little backdrop. This is going to be a little bit tedious, but just to give you an idea of how I kind of do this, I'm going to go straight to my eyedropper because I do not like their I can't think of the word, but the color that they automatically go to, their default color is blue. So I'm obviously going to pick something from here. So I already have blue, I have purple, I have like an orange and yellow here. So I think I'm going to stick with green. Okay, so you see the fill, the inside of the shape is one color, but the outside is still blue. So what I can do is I go up to my shape outline, and I can change it to green so it's all one color, or I can just select no outline. Either one, it really doesn't matter. It's not going to change much in this instance. So so now I have green. Now I don't want it just a solid green. I definitely want to add some variance here. So start with the shape. I'm going to use a line, and I'm just going to show you kind of a cheating way of doing this. There's really no other way to do it properly, I don't think, but I could be wrong. You can make a comment in the post if there is. But so normally what I would do is I would make this wider, but the biggest width I have here is the 6 point, and I want like a 20 point. So I'm going to go to more lines, which pulls up this section here, and right down here it says width, and I can just add in 20, and now I have it exactly where I want it. Now I don't want this color, so I've already selected this color earlier, and that's the color that I want to go with for right now. I can probably do a myriad of colors, but we're going to just try and make this as simple as possible. So I'm going to, this one doesn't have an outline because it is an outline. It's just a line, is technically is all one outline, so I don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this particular shape all the way down, okay? And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So I'm just going to, I'm going to show you. So you select the shape that you want to copy. So you're going to hold down the control button, and then you're going to push the C button, C as in cat. And when you do that, it copies that particular shape. Then you're going to go over to the very next button on your keyboard, and you're going to push the V button, V as in Vinny, and you've duplicated that shape. And you just, now since you've already selected this particular shape, already copied it, you can just push Control V, and it copies the last shape again. And you just bring that down, and you just keep pushing Control V. And if you don't want to keep going up to that particular one, you can just use the one that you worked on last and just do Control CV. Control CV, and it just goes right where you're already working. I hope that made sense. Then we're going to go up here, and you're just going to select all these shapes, probably the easiest way to do it. Now we do not want this green shape in our grouping when I go to align all of this. So what you're going to do is deselect this particular green shape. So everything is already selected, so you're going to push the Control button and just click on the shape you don't want in there. And you can just let the Control button go, and it still has all of these selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Arrange, and I'm going to Align, and I'm going to go to Align Center, and that just centers everything. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this into a main shape. Now this is my quick tab, so I'm going to go over here. You're going to find that in your Arrange tab. So I group this. So now this is one shape. So if I do that, I can make it smaller, I can make it wider, I can do all kinds of things with it. I'm just going to backspace to put that back to where it was. Now, you know what? Let me, I forgot to do one thing. So I'm going to ungroup it for a second. They're still selected. And now I'm going to align it vertically. And that spaces everything out evenly. Okay, now I'm going to go back up and I'm going to group it. So if you saw what I did there is I made all of these shapes center with this particular grid line here, and then I aligned them equal spacing apart. Okay, so this is where I want this to be. This is exactly what I want this to do, but I don't want it to be horizontal stripes. I actually want them to be diagonal. So an easy way to do this is you can't really align these diagonally on with arranging, so you would have to eyeball every single one you did. But if you do it this way, this is like a little bit of a cheater method, and it allows you to drag these up by just clicking on this little white or white circle, and you just pull them down. And if you look over here, it automatically makes these little shapes for you, and you can just wiggle this around until you feel like this is center with where you want it to be. Now I need actually a few more shapes. So what I'm going to do is I can take it back to where I was, where it was horizontal, and do all of the arranging and the grouping again, which probably would be the best option. But for now, especially since I would just be making this for me, I'm just going to, if I click on this, on these, any of these shapes, it groups it all together because it's grouped together. But if I want to work on just one particular shape, you can select that particular shape, and you see the little white circle that comes on the end of that shape. That's how you know that you have selected that shape and not the whole group. So you can just do Control C V, and it duplicates that particular shape. So it's hard to kind of tell which shape you're going to grab. Okay, so now I've just grabbed that particular shape. So if you see these vertical lines here kind of show you that you have this lined up the way you need it to have lined up. It's the equal distancing. So they kind of helps you see that you have this done right. So I think that's about where it needs to be. All right, then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So I'm going to click on it till I know that I have selected that particular shape. CV, Control CV, and then I'm just going to pull this down till I feel like, see these little red, if you saw them, they kind of just showed you that you have the equal distancing like you need it to be. And that's it. So I think I actually could get away with doing one more down in this corner. So let me pull that down until I feel like that's good. Okay, see, and now it looks, actually looks really good. Now the only problem with this is that it's all over here, and so you have to work around that. But it's not going to show up on your printable, obviously, because it's only going to print this parameter right here. So you do have this, you know, this is how you would make your own backdrop. If you wanted to make several different versions of this particular, let's say, design, you want to use this backdrop or this particular paper, we're going to say, for different things. So like if you wanted to stick with a lollipop theme, you want to do an I SPY Printable, you wanted to do a word search, you wanted to do a bunch of those different things, and you wanted to keep the backdrop the same. One way you could do that is you could go into Save As, and then you would go, I usually go straight to Browse, so I make sure it's going in the right direction, but we're going to just throw it onto our desktop so I can just show you how to do this. So you're going to come down here and you're going to turn it into a PNG or a JPEG. I usually use JPEG, save space on my desktop. So you can say lollipop paper. Okay, so we're making our own lollipop paper. And then you do save, and then you just want that particular slide. So then what you do is you can actually insert later on when you go to make another version of that. You can go to your desktop, and there it is. And now you don't have to worry about all these. So just for that particular reason, because we don't want to have to deal with all this, we're just going to use this particular paper, and we're going to just delete all of these. So we can we don't have such a cluttered space. Okay, so now we just created our own paper, our own backdrop. The only problem was that we can't change the shape, can't change colors, we can't change anything to this because it's already a saved format. So that's the only drawback, but this is a pretty cute shape that we can use as a border, and it works great. So that's what I do when I'm kind of going with a theme and I don't have anything to work with for a background. So now I'm going to go into shape, and we're going to get started on the main sizing here. So what we're going to do is we want this to be a bit of a border. Okay, so we don't want all of this paper showing. I don't know if I want it that big. Okay, so I'm using my grid lines here, and I am lining this up, and if you can tell, the lines turn red, just slightly, you can see it when you're center. Now this is a shape, so I don't want it blue. I actually want it white. If I were to go to no fill, it would just bleed through everything that was behind it. So we want the shape actually to be white. Now my outline is not, I actually want an outline, but I don't want it that particular color. So I'm going to choose a color over here. We're probably going to choose purple. We're going to make it a deeper color. Here we go. Okay, and this is just a really fun way to just bring all these colors in. You just have a bunch of different shapes in here. I need to separate this particular, let's see, let's go up here. We're going to go to insert, another shape, and we're going to use a line this time. And I think we're going to probably draw the line across here. Okay, this particular shape is, or outline is going to be purple as well, and the exact same width. Okay, and we're just dividing our two spaces here. This is where all the lollipops are going to go, and this is where you're going to have them all displayed as far as like how many there are or how many you have found. Okay, so we're going to, these are two spaces. So what I'm going to do is I like to start off, get rid of that. I like to select all my graphics, and I like to add one element to them that kind of, I feel like it's kind of a fun element. So you're going to go up to your home tab here, all the way over to shape effects, because you've already selected all the shapes that you want to do this to. So it has a shape effect. I go to shadow, and if you see, they have all kinds of different angles the shadow will show, and you can kind of see what it does to your images that you've selected. I like to stick with this one. If you want to, you can actually go down, go to shape effects and shadow, and you can go to shadow options, and this allows you to make the shadows darker or lighter, and you can do all kinds of things with shadow. You can change everything about it, but I like to kind of stick with the same plain simple what they already have going on, just to make it easier. But you can do that, you can change it up. But now I have a slight shadow, which just gives it a little bit of that illusion it's coming off the page. And I don't know why, but that just really makes it pop. Sometimes I'll even do that to my particular shapes here. So if I want to go through, go to shape effects, shadow, I can even do that to where it looks like this is coming off the page. That's really fun. So I do that sometimes just to give it a little bit of that illusion. Let's see how this will look. Sometimes we'll do it here too. No, we don't want to do that because you actually want this to look like it's one piece. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to decide, okay, first of all, this will be an easier way. Select all your images again, arrange, bring to front. That way, every time you pull this on, it's going to be right on top of the layers you already have selected here. Just trust me, it's going to be a lot easier than have to do that individually. So you're going to pull one over at a time, and then what I like to do is I like to duplicate one at a time, and you know, they're all going to be different sizes. So if you have I SPY, you're trying to find all the different elements. So I have this particular one. This is a multicolored lollipop. I might do I might do probably 10 of these just because this one's super colorful and I really like how it pops off the page. So I'm going to select the shape, Control C, and then V, and then I'll just keep doing this until I get however many I want. I didn't even add it, so it might be less than 10. But I'm not going to keep them in this shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them all kinds of different shapes, and I'm just going to kind of throw them around the page a little bit. And once I get all of these going on here, I'm going to change them up. I'm going to switch them around. They're going to be all kinds of different shapes. You want them just all wild and all over the place, okay? So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to keep creating this, all different sizes and all over the page. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to do that for all of them. As many of them as you want on here. You can make this as busy as you want or not as busy as you want. This is exactly up to you and your preference. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to skip over and I'm going to have all of these added exactly like I want them to go, and we're going to pick up from there. Okay, so I've already added all the lollipops on that I felt were necessary for this particular printable. And you can see it's super colorful and it's just a lot of fun. Just makes you want to dive in and just have some fun trying to find all this stuff. So I went ahead and added the lollipops back in because from my particular file, because I'm going to add them down here so the kids can keep track of how many they found or how many of each particular sucker is in this printable. So one way to do this is to select all your particular graphics. You're going to right click on any one of them and go down to size and position. All right, so then you're going to choose your height. As you can see, it's changing it for you. Okay, so we're going to need them to be, start with that one. Okay. Makes them a little difficult to see, but I think they'll be okay. So I have 6 in this group and 6 in this other group. So we're going to kind of need to space them out a certain way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align these up. I want this one to be about here and this one to be here, and I want them lined up in between. So I'm going to push the control button, and then I'm clicking on each of the ones I want to align. I'm going to go up to arrange, align, and we're going to align these horizontally. But I also want them to be aligned, let's see here, in the middle. Okay, so now they are all where they need to be. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, now that I have them all lined up properly, is I'm going to go ahead and group them. So we're going to go back up and we're going to select group. Okay, because I'm going to be doing a lot of moving around with these pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and just shift those up there. I'm going to do the same exact thing with this group of 6. We can probably stick with the colors lined up the same way. That way you can kind of see the difference, because these are very similar suckers. There's not much difference. So having them right next to each other might help the kids see which one's which. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to do the exact same process. Just going to kind of throw these up here. I'm going to select these particular shapes. I'm making sure these are the ones I want. Go up to arrange, go to align. You're going to align the middle so they're all the same all the way across, and then I'm going to line them horizontally so they have the same spacing difference between them. Then I'm going to group them. Okay, so those are grouped and ready to go. I'm just going to shift those up, and I'm going to bring these 4 over. And we're going to do these ones just slightly different. I don't know, I probably could do this. Okay, so we're just in kind of, I want this to be lined up with the one above it and this one lined up. That looks about good. Okay, And then I'm just going to select these 4. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to align them in the middle, and then we're going to align them horizontally. Okay, and then I'm going to group them. All right, so as you can see, let's do this. Actually might be better. I don't want these so close to the, okay, now these are grouped. I don't want these so close to the top line there, but I do want them, so this is about the same distance. I like to use these lines that are around the shape to kind of judge a little bit. So this line is at the top, this line is lining up here at the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this shape, push Control, select this one, and I'm just going to align them so they are centered perfectly. Okay, so that's exactly where I want them to be. Now we are going to be running into a slight issue. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring this in just a little because we need to have a line on the other side. So I'm going to bring these in, and you can see they're going to line up. You have a line showing you where you got them. Just for these 2 up here, because these ones down here have space for lines next to them. So there are 2 ways that Printables, I SPY Printables do this bottom portion. You can show that you have, let's say, 5 of this particular one, and just put the number 5 next to it. So they know they need to find 5 of those particular ones. I don't like to do that because I like to leave that mystery of, well, how many are there? Let's look. And so I actually just put a line here so the kids can say, okay, I found this number, this particular one. You can do that. That's what I prefer to do, and that's what I've done with all my other printables, I SPY Printables. So the way to do that is you go up to Insert, and we're going to kind of do the same thing that we did with these particular is you're going to just create a line. Doesn't need to be really big. I'd say that's pretty good. You're going to want to change the color, something kind of bold. Let's see. Should we do red? We'll do red. I don't know, that's kind of harsh. Let's see. Let's do pink. We'll do kind of meet in the middle there. All right. So we're going to Control. We have this shape selected, so we'll do Control, C, and V. And I'm going to drag it down until it is just about level with this particular one up here. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to select both of these shapes, and then I'm going to group them. So sometimes these things shift around. So now I'm at shape format instead of home. So things are going to be in a little different spots. So my align is normally like in this general area. But when I'm selecting shapes, it goes to this particular tab, which means my line has shifted over somewhere else. So it's right here. You just got to look for it. Or you can go back to home, do it that way. So I don't want align, I want group. So I'm going to group them. So what I'm going to do after that is I have this shape selected now. I got the 2 lines in this grouped shape. So I'm going to have this shape as selected. I'm going to do Control, C, V. Okay, I shifted the wrong shape. So all I'm going to do is go back over to home and just push my undo button and put everything right back where it needs to be. But I'm going to grab this shape, pull this over, and if you notice, the lines are lining it up, telling you where you need to be. Okay, so now you know this is perfectly center all the way across, and it has equal distancing where you want it to be. Okay, so you just kind of move it around just to kind of see if it is lined up in the proper space of where you want it to be. Or you can do these all the way across and then align them the way we did the lollipops. Totally up to you. I just do this. I feel like this is a little faster because I've been doing this long enough to see. You can kind of see that it's lined up pretty close. So I just kind of eyeball it. And then when I'm done, I can see if it needs to be shifted over a little bit. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're just going to eyeball it. It doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, obviously, if you're going to sell these on a place like Etsy or Shopify, you do want these to be as close to perfect as you can get them. But it's not going to be, it's not always going to be perfect. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that, because if you look, we have hardly any gap over here, whereas we have a pretty big gap here, and that needs to change. So we're going to actually go over to the side. I'm going to left click. I'm going to bring it just under the purple border line because I don't want that shape selected. And we're going to drag it down till we get all of these in, okay? And we're just going to shift it over, and we're just going to kind of eyeball it to make sure you have about the equal distance between this shape and this border, and the end of this shape and this border, okay? So if that makes sense, you just want the equal amount of blank space on either side. It just looks so much better. So let's see, how does this look? It looks pretty good. The only problem is when you're doing this, because there's a lot less space being used with a line as there is with a lollipop, sometimes it just looks better to shift it back over a little bit. You just kind of eyeball it and kind of see. I'm going to do one more over. All right, so that looks pretty good. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this particular, oh, you know what? We don't need that particular shape. We just need one of these. So we're going to control one of these shapes. We're going to bring it down about there, and we're going to control that shape. And we're going to just kind of pop these in with these bottom ones. Okay, and as you can see, these need to be shifted over as well. So we're just gonna, okay. These lollipops did not get selected in that because we didn't go up high enough. So I'm gonna show you, now I've got the shapes in there, okay? So you just wanna make sure all the shapes you want moved are going to get moved. One easy way to do this is, instead of just eyeballing it, is going up to arrange, grouping it, and then bring it across, and it will show you that it's center. Okay, that's a real easy way to do it. Probably should have done that with up here. But you just kind of, learn. You can eyeball it, or you can kind of do it that way. So now this looks pretty good. This looks about where I would leave it as. The only thing I would add to this from this point on is possibly I like to add another shape, especially if I'm selling these. You want something to describe what this is. I don't know why it keeps shifting like that, but so I would do, I would go up here, I would do a shape fill. I would probably make this white shape fill, or I might actually make it more something that would stand out. So I might do like a bright yellow, okay? That's kind of tacky. I probably wouldn't use that, so I might stick with the white. So we're just going to stick with the white. I'm just going to show you real quick what I would do. We're going to do, the outline. I'm going to go with the outline, and I'm going to use a color I haven't picked yet. So, so we got purple, blue. I'm probably going to have to go with that red that I didn't want to go with earlier. Or we could do the yellow. We could try the yellow. Let's see. We're going to make that kind of heavy, probably not as heavy as the other border. And what I would do is I'd kind of squeeze this down just a little bit, make sure it was center. And if I'm doing this, obviously I'm going to have to rearrange some of these here just to make sure they fit properly on the page. So you could obviously add this particular border before you're even going to add these in, so you don't have to do this later. But hindsight. Okay, so this one is a new shape, so I would do the same shadow shape that I do with the rest of these, and then I would throw in a text box. So I'm going to go over here, we're going to do text box, and this is going to say I SPY puzzle or something like that. So And you can select the text box. You're going to go up here. You can change the font to some fun font that you would want. Obviously, you've got a really bright colored, fun, printable here, so you're going to want something, to look equally as good. I'm going to center this, and then I'm going to change the color, obviously. So I want this to be probably blue. We're going to go with something like that. You're going to make it bigger. Just something fun. Just to throw it up there. You're going to want to center it. I would go a little bit bigger. Make sure this is nice and bold and colorful. And then you can even put a text box down here to say how many of these can you find, just to kind of explain what this bottom portion is. But for the most cases, you know what this is. So this is something that I would do. This is how I would create this printable. It's actually super fun to do, and it's actually not that hard to create. It does look a little daunting at first, but the more of these you do, the more you practice, the more the easier it becomes. So this was not that hard to do. I mean, you learned how to make a custom background, you learned how to add a shadow, you learned how to align a ton of stuff. So I mean, you learned a lot just in this one particular video, and you can use that on a whole bunch of different printables that you're going to make. So hopefully you learned a lot. Hopefully you can make some of these your own, impress your kids, impress your coworkers, I don't know. But you can take something like this and sell this. I sell these kind of printables, especially during like the Christmas ones I have. I sell them all the time. They're some of my best sellers. So this is something kids love to do, and it's super colorful, which is big for kids. So you can do this black and white. You can make this a fun color one that they can color in themselves. So there's lots of options, lots of different fonts and graphics and things you can play with. You could spend days creating puzzles like this. So that's for I SPY Puzzle. We'll do a few more to show you how I do some of the other puzzles in my packages, because I group them all together. I don't sell them individually, but you can do either one of those. So I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.